everybody. Welcome to the home-based meetups as folks keep piling in. I do want to say thank you for attending and welcome. We are so glad to have you back for the 21-22 school year. A little bit harder to say as you get further into the, when you say 21-22 back-to-back like that. We will be having our virtual sessions July 26th through the 30th this week, so please make sure, welcome to the NCEES session. If you would, Kimmy, please hit the next slide. This is our WebEx kind of slide. Please make sure that if you have questions, if you enter them in QA only, the panelists can see your questions. If you do the chat, everyone will see, so please make sure you understand which one is which. We now have captions available, and if you look over to the little robot head over there, that it can help you with captions. And there's a help guide there if you need it. And thank you very much. Next slide. Want to give you a little bit of home-based meetups overview. Home-based products. Home-based will be the definitive seamless go-to digital resource for North Carolina. It includes a student information system, which is currently PowerSchool, an instructional improvement system, which is currently SchoolNet, learning management system, which is Canvas, an open education resource, which is GoOpenNC, Educator evaluation system, which is NCEES. We have a digital literacy program called learning.com, and we also have a supplemental math program available through a convenience contract through Imagine Math. But that is what your home base is, and we look forward to serving you. The purpose of the home-based meetups is to provide and foster positive interactions with the field. As I have said, these are the most important meetings to me. This is our chance to get out and talk with you and give you updates, and for you to provide feedback to us of what we can do to make this product better for you. So we look forward to it. Next slide. Here is the schedule for the week. You have NCEES today, you have SchoolNet tomorrow, PowerSchool on Wednesday with a double dose with learning.com on Wednesday. Canvas is on Thursday, and on Friday is Go Open. And you can see there, click on the links if you need to register for more than one, as I know many of you wear many hats in your district. Next slide, please. And there's the home base schedule for this school year, July 26th through 28th. The next one is September. Now what you see there is it says west to east in person. And the reason it says that is because we are still looking for locations. In fact, if you click on that link, Cammie, in the upper right corner, there's a link there for everybody. And if we click on that link, there are more needs across digital teaching and learning. Digital teaching and learning plans to travel and provide support for this year. We have a fall reconnect in September that we are looking for a location, as well as home-based meetups. 3 of them, we are also looking for locations. If you would like to help us in either of those for digital teaching and learning with the fall reconnect and the home-based meetups, if you would, please fill out the form link on the bottom of that page that Cammie's on now. And then if you could tell us that you are willing to do that, that will help us try to get locations out to you in August so that everyone can go and be face-to-face again. Of course, when we are face-to-face, one of those days will be recorded and be done virtually so that folks can attend if they cannot make the home-based meetups. Thank you, Cammie. Next slide, please. Home-based social media. This is one we've kind of reconfigured a little bit. We are all over social media. Those are all the hashtags: Facebook, home-based, Instagram, all our call signs. If there's a call sign for us, it's on this page. So please make sure to check it out and use it, as we believe that this is a very effective way for us to communicate with you. And what I put on the very bottom on the center there is a link to our home-based overview. We're not going to show it to you. It is about a 5-minute video and an overview of home-based and all the products we use, and kind of a day in the life of the home-based products and what a family would go through using home-based as well as educators. So please click on that link to watch the little video we've created, and feel free to share that with folks in your district so they are aware of what home-based is and what it has to offer the educators in your district. Next slide. Home-based meetup updates. There are some things I wanted to make you aware of. The CIS upgrade is going to be August 6th through August 9th. We're going to be going to version 20.11.3. If you're interested in learning more, please attend the home-based CIS meetup on Wednesday so you can learn more about the functionality and what it does. Canvas Studio is available to you at $1 per user. That is something that is new this year statewide, that if you have the ability, gives you the ability to kind of work. It's a video editor and gives you a chance to really do some neat things with video editing inside of Canvas. We are also looking for someone else that might be interested in piloting Transcend with SchoolNet. If you are interested in that, please let John Mayers or myself know, and we'd be more than happy to reach out to you. And then, sadly, we will be having a home base opportunity come available here soon. We will keep you posted on a job posting. If you are interested in that, we look forward to hearing from you, and we will send out when that job posting is available. It should be later today or tomorrow. Next slide, please. And there is our home-based team. We are very excited to be here again to serve you, and look at that. There's one typo at the top, and I missed it. We will get that changed pretty quickly here. This is our home-based team. And Dr. Rob Dietrich, that's me. We have Pam Batchelor, Justin Connor, Cami Nairn, Tessa Hine, John Mayers, Yolanda Wilson, Audrey Long, Russell Dixon, and Carmela Fair. We are very happy to be here to serve you, and we look forward to a positive year ahead working with you to make education better for the students in North Carolina. Thank you, and Cami, I turn it over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob. And I'm going to put our links to our slides one more time in the chat. Hopefully you've been finding them there. And thank you, Rob, for all those updates. So we will be transitioning to our NCEES breakout now. That link is in the chat right now. It's also on your slides, on your opening slides. All right, and we'll get started. Did anybody have any questions before we get started for Rob? Okay. Get this being a little slow. Probably have too many tabs open here. There we go. All right, so welcome to our NCEES portion. I am Cami Nairn, and I do work for Digital Teaching and Learning and the home-based team managing our NCEES, North Carolina Educator Effectiveness System, where you do evaluation and professional development. And on our agenda this morning, we're going to recap our end of year for 2020-21, and then we'll look at what's new for 21-22. I'm going to go ahead and give the networking time right after that because I think it leads into our training for today, our NCEES Refresher, where we are going to look at staff in NCEES. So let's recap. Last year, you guys were awesome. Look at the number of evaluations that were completed. Over 104,000 completed evaluations, administrator and teacher and support staff, and almost 100,000 completed PDPs. And you can see on the left how many plans were archived. The first number is the total archive, and that includes both completed plans and incomplete plans. If a plan was never started, it got removed. So there's our totals on the left, and they are pretty much to be as expected. We would love to see our principal numbers go up a little bit more, but other than that, everything looks close to be as expected. And thank you guys, you did an awesome job. I pull the ratings at the end of the year, and it goes to Tom Tomberlin's team, and his EVOS team works with those ratings. I did also want to remind you that Premium Library went live May 14th. There's the one-pager link to the Premium Library if your district is interested, if you have money to purchase seats in courses. I think there's 1 or 2 free courses out there. We are working to try to get EdStar courses in there, and hopefully that's in the next coming weeks, and we'll get that out just as soon as we know that they're in there. In the little pink orange box are the current vendors that are offered out there. CipherWorks, Educational Impact, ISTE has a few courses, and Trauma Informed Online Academy, which is part of Educational Impact. So if you have any questions, just email those to me. If you guys have any questions while we're going through this, please put it in the chat, or you should be able to unmute as well. I'm fine with that. Just a quick review of our current escalated tickets. We may have some slides for some of these later on to explain them more. Our recent issue is there was a update that went in weekend before last, 21.7. Trying to fix the principal and evaluator's ability to enter notes in their notes areas. Mostly that's found in the data collection container. It is also found like in your self-assessment or observation rubrics. Evaluators can enter notes. And this was broken. I just got word this weekend that they did fix this. I did go out and test some live users, and it looks to be working fine. I had some test users that I looked at, and there were still a couple lingering issues with those. So do check that if you're in process right now. If your principals can enter those notes, they should be able to now. If not, please open a ServiceNow ticket. We are addressing, working with PowerSchool to address the issue of names from other districts showing in your roster on your My Staff page on the Administration Staff Management tab. There is a fixed plan for this to be released in October. We would not enable it until we fully test it. We are excited that this is going in. It should help with this issue. We do still need to stress that our districts keep their data clean in what gets uploaded to Staff UID, because what this fix is potentially going to do is when staff move districts, they're employed with you now, and in October, November, they decided to go to another district. They move, your district keeps them active for 30 days to pay out that last paycheck or give them access to other systems that they need to get into IAM to reach those systems. Our system, NCEES, is with this fix would look and say, oh, I see you have a new district. I'm going to disable the plans that belong to the previous district. So hopefully that will disconnect some rights and also archive the plan so that the new district does not see the plan belonging to the previous district. So this is a little bit of fixing that PowerSchool is trying to do to help us meet our requirements for NCEES. And I'm hoping that this tests out fine. We won't activate it until we've fully tested it. If you have any input or any questions on this, please email me. We were also seeing some export a plan to PDF issues. We saw more and more districts using this export a plan to PDF. This is where you can get individual PDFs for those end of year ratings, for most anything that you want to pull out of NCEES and having an individual PDF report that you want to save. There was a few issues with that. They were taking forever to process. PowerSchool found there was an issue with attachments that were in the system on those plans. That was fixed this past week or the weekend before. I did notice that it looked like all the export a plan to PDFs were processed on Friday. I haven't checked today, but it looked like they were fully processed on Friday. There were also some failure issues during this time. Those plans that recently finished look like they completed without any errors. So if you have any questions about those, go ahead and email me or open a ticket. The load time issues for administration staff management pages and ad hoc reporting pages, PowerSchool is looking at and working on. Thank you to those of you that sent us videos so that we could document that. And they were going to go take those. It should take less than 10 seconds, ideally less than 4 seconds to load a page. And it was inconsistent on which pages it loaded in administration staff management within that time frame. So they are working to find a solution for that. And then assigning rights issues, when you assign rights in that administration staff management page, admin rights window, if you assign them incorrectly, say you were trying to assign mentors and you actually gave them evaluator rights, and then you said, oh, no, 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 they need mentor rights. So you went and changed it that same day, the system would still see that first setting and it would go ahead and assign the evaluator rights, which of course gives them rights to everybody in your system, which is what you didn't want. So PowerSchool is, I just got an email this morning. PowerSchool's development team is working on modifying that code, and they hope to have that fixed in by September. This only happens when you are assigning, you mistakenly give them the wrong role, and then you fix it the same day. They want the system to see what you fixed it to instead of going and setting that first setting first. And if you're not a member of our Google group, we have an awesome Google group out there. Here's the link at the bottom of this page. Sally Reynolds and from Wake County and Brian Protz from Buncombe County are the group's managers. I and Dr. Sotz keep an eye on the system, but we usually don't jump in because you guys are awesome with answering each other. So anytime you have HR questions, NCEES questions, this is your Google group. Please do sign up to join that. We'll approve you to join. If you want an invitation, just let us know. All right, it's time to do our Padlet activity. If you've joined us before, you know how to do this. I don't know if I see any new names. Do we have anybody new here today? You can put it in the chat. So here's, I'll put this Padlet link. Let me see if I can get it copied. And put it in the chat. And what I want to know is, what are your successes and challenges that have happened since the last time we met, which was, gosh, I believe April, and we've gone through end of year. It's a way to, if you've not been in a Padlet before, to add to these columns here is underneath each header is a plus sign. So in the first header, go ahead and say hi to everybody. What is your good news? Did you get married? Have you got a new grandbaby or a new child? Any kind of, did somebody graduate? Any kind of good news you want to share in that first column. Any successes with the system, please list that in the second column. And then any challenges that you're experiencing since April or right now, please put those in. And we'll give you about, let's do like 2 or 3 minutes for you to fill this in to give you time to find your way out here and open up and add some successes and challenges or good news to share or hellos. I'm going to go on mute for just a minute or two, and I'll be right back with you. Okay, so I'm coming back. You guys keep doing this. I'm going to give you time if you'd like to unmute and say hello. Go ahead, and we're going to give everybody 1 more minute to fill these out. Thank you for those of you that have started here to fill these out. Would anybody like to unmute and just say hello?
Hey guys, this is Brian. I was just joking in the chat. Most of you guys, we've spoken in person, but Cami, it's always a pleasure to get the gang together, if you will, and just, be able to say hi to each other. So we appreciate you as always. Hoping that, maybe if the COVID numbers are low enough that we can all get together back in person in, do we have the CCES conference in February or March? I can't even remember now, but it's always good to see you guys in person or virtually.
Yep. Hey, Brian. Yeah, I saw your little first timer there. CCES, I believe, is actually going to be in the fall, but we'll get those dates out soon. I think they've changed it for this year. And we're going to try to travel at our next HBMU. We'll get that September, I believe. Anybody else want to say hi?
Hi, this is Sherry from Guilford County Schools. Welcome all.
Hey, Sherry.
Hi, everybody. This is Sally Reynolds from Wake County. Great to see all of the familiar names in the participant list. Thank you, Cami, Rob, and team for providing this opportunity for us. It's really wonderful to get together. Hope you all are doing well.
Thank you, Sally. Good morning to you, too. Okay, so let's get started on our good news to share. I see a couple of hellos out here, but they didn't put who they were from. So there's a hello and a good morning and another good morning and some hellos. Comment that we survived 2021. Yep, it's been something for the last couple of years, hasn't it, with everything going on. Yes, you guys have worked hard. I know you wear so many hats. So, and yeah, I agree with that sentiment. Casey Corey, welcome. It's your first home-based meeting, so I hope you get a lot out of this today and you meet a lot of folks to network with. Would you like to say anything this morning, Casey?
Just want to say good morning to everyone. Thank you for having me this morning. It's a pleasure working with each of you. I worked with you, Cami, on several occasions. So just good morning.
Good morning. Yep, it's always a pleasure to be working together. All right, and then somebody else says hello all and happy 21-22. They have a NCEES BOGs, that beginning of grade meeting scheduled with principals to set up accounts. Not sure what BOG stands for. Somebody wants to tell me what that means.
It's the beginning of the year, Cami,
Okay.
to give them their licensure reports, to go through all the updates for the year, and then start the assigning the rights process and plan types.
Oh, yeah. It's already time for all of that. Yep. Not a very long summer, is it? And then Brian's already said hello. All right, so let's get into our successes. Problem solving. I love that I can assume the identity of a teacher or administrator to troubleshoot. Yes, that assume identity has been a lifesaver and has given you guys the power to not have to open a ticket when you can go see yourself what is going on. Setting plans. Principals are starting to set plans. That's good. And administration staff management, somebody is happy that they're working to fix the loading of this page. Me too, because it's very random as to which page takes forever to load, which administration staff managements.
Amy, that was me before I signed in. It's
Okay.
Sherry.
Yep, good. All right, so if there's nobody else wants to say anything about successes, we'll move on to challenges. All right, and the first one, maybe I need to make this a little bigger. Too many clicks or steps for completing an observation perhaps combining steps. We did a lot of combining with the finalized mark complete. There's still going to be a few mark completes out there, but that was one of the new things. I went through all the plans and tried to have PowerSchool combine the finalized mark complete wherever we could. So that should be, for the most part, pretty much done. If you have a specific example, open a ticket, email me, let me know where that specific example is. And yes, I know you've been posting that since COVID too.
Tammy, this is Brian. What I'd like to do, as my time permits eventually, is to give you a mock-up of some things, and I can share it with maybe Angela or Sally and just get their feedback first so they don't think I'm completely crazy. Sherry, we usually kind of see eye to eyes, but I think there's still some room for improvement. I know I just have to kind of mock up an example and kind of pitch it to you and the team just to see if we can eliminate some of the clicks that are redundant.
That sounds good. That sounds like a plan. Thank you,
I
Brian.
will agree. Once you finalize, you shouldn't have to mark it complete.
Yep. All right. Thank you, guys. Currently an observation can't be finalized unless every element is rated. I looked at this with PowerSchool in depth in the last few weeks. The way the system is built, they couldn't get this to do that. There are different areas in the system. So like when you close some of your goal setting areas, say if you missed a box, it highlights it in yellow. And we tried to get it to do that in the rubric, and just the way it's built out, they couldn't get it to do that. When we get to the new forms, there should be a better way to let them know exactly what they're missing. But yes, we do sympathize with this. We know it is a top issue because it is hard to see which tally box, since they're so little, is missed. So know that we're still working on that. All right. Any other challenges that you want to bring up? All right. And the last item, DPI action item, still looking for a system-wide view-only status to NCEES. This is in the works, and we'll talk about that in the next slides. Any other comments before we go back to our slides? All right. Thank you guys for taking time to say hello and sharing your good news and giving us something to think about as we move forward in 21-22.
Cami, it looks like if you go back one slide, it looks like somebody just added another challenge.
Okay.
It's at the very top. It looks like.
Oh, it puts it at top. Would be good if a reminder was sent on day 5 or 10 to complete an observation once initiated. Yes, that is in the new forms. So currently they won't be updating the forms we're on. It is in the new forms where you can set up those calendar date reminders. And that will be happening, not this year, but when we get to the new forms, that will be in place. Thank you, Brian, for letting me know that. All right, what's new in 2021, 2022? It is hard to say, Rob. So here's a bit.ly. Let me put that in here. Some of you have already seen these slides. So if you'd like to have a copy of the slides, I'm putting that in the chat. We're going to go look at those. I'm trying to think if I had some slides here. Okay, we'll come back to that. Let me click here. Make sure we're staying on task. It's 10:30 already. All right. Close some tabs. All right, as soon as this loads up, we're going to go through kind of what's new. Nothing really major new in NCEES, but we did try to do a lot of fixing and prettying up and making sure things look consistent throughout the system. The first item we're going to talk about is your teacher plan and PDP types. There's the guide. We're going to link. I'm updating guides, so if there's not a link here, keep this slide deck bookmarked. And as soon as I get all the guides updated, I'll link them out here in our slides as well. We added a new PDP type called No PDP. This will be good to set on your principal staff so you know that they do not get a PDP. Their goals are actually set in their evaluation, so they don't get the PDP plan that your teachers and support staff are assigned. So we thought this would be a good way to help track with reporting and give you an option when you're setting your plan type so that you know you looked at that principal, they don't get a PDP, and you can set that. Of course, your principals already have their teacher plan type set by the system, so you would only need to change the PDP type. Professional development plan updates. These guides are updated. All your new guides will have newer dates on them, so these are dated July 2021. I'm hoping to have all the plan guides updated by the end of this week. And they'll all have the 7/2021 date on those. And we are moving those over into like a Google Doc. So now you can keep those and use those as you need to. And they're not a PDF. So you can fit them to fit your school district. If you do that, please put your logo on there and say that this is the guide that you updated. All right, so the first thing in PDP, thank you, Sally. She says the help guides are amazing. Good. PDP self-assessment. This is one of the areas where you no longer have to click mark complete. So all the self-assessments, once you finalize a self-assessment, it marks itself complete. In the comment titles in the PDP, whenever you ran reports, it would just say comments, 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 and you really couldn't tell which area of the PDP the comments were coming from. So first we went into the PDP so that when you went into mid-year, end of year, and you saw all the list of comments, now you should be able to tell where it's coming from. Did the evaluator enter the comment during when they signed off in the initial review, or the mid-year review, or the end-of-year review? So now all of those are identified, and I've highlighted a few here. But that was a lot of work. At PowerSchool, we went through for a few days going through the list and making sure all the areas were updated to identify initial, mid-year, end of year. When was the comment entered, during signatures, during evidence areas. So those are now all updated for you. And in conjunction with that, when you run your PDP record of activity reports for mid-year or end of year, those list the comments. Those comment titles should show up there as well. In the initial review, where the teacher can click in, or the person can click in and get a link to their professional teaching and support staff standards, we updated the list that was below that link so that when they click out to the policy site, they'll know where to go find their standards. So teachers is Eval 004 and so on down the list. Shared self-assessments. When somebody shared their self-assessment, remember that it is optional for people to share their self-assessment. It's probably a good thing for them to, but it is optional for them. However, when it was shared, the evaluator could see it, but anybody that was assigned as a mentor could not see it. So now mentors do have access to any shared self-assessment that they have access rights to. All right, any questions about that area, the PDPs? All right, we're going to move into the evaluations. And these are not linked yet, I don't think. We'll get those updated soon this week. All right, this one, and we may need to go to the live site to show you. Every year, especially towards the end of the year, we get people opening tickets and saying, somebody has completed an additional observation or a peer observation. The evaluator is looking for that green check. And we found that it was optional activities that they were completing, and optional activities do not have required settings in them. So it didn't know to mark it overall complete. The only way it would mark it overall complete is if you completed every task that was listed in that container. And of course, you're not going to have a document override and a teacher signature at the same time. So it was never going to show complete. So now all the optional activities, I think I have a screenshot. If you need me to go to the live site, just put in the text and we'll do that. If it'll be clearer for you. On the left-hand side, you're going to see at the very top how that container with observation 1 has a blue flower in it. And it's a required activity to complete the plan. And it shows at the container level. So this is the container for observation 1 and it has a flower. So here's a peer observation right below it. This peer observation is either in a standard plan or an abbreviated plan. It's not in the comprehensive plan, so it's optional peer observation. So what we did was hid the overall status on all optional observations activities. So this peer is optional. You're not going to have the overall flower at the top of the peer observation if it's optional or the additional observations. So tell your evaluators, as long as the main activity, in this case the formal observation and the 2 signatures, the teachers and the peer, and they've locked it, that's how they're going to know if it's complete. They don't need to look for a green check at the top of an optional observation. Now the peer observations also show up on the right. We're looking at the staff evaluations page and your dashboard of activity statuses. So there is a column for peer observations. We don't have additional observations out here because we don't have enough columns to add any other column headers. So, but the peer is out here. Your site administrators, your evaluators can get to the staff evaluations page and they can track if that peer observation is in progress. So once they click into the formal observation, it's going to put the blue circle under peer. Excuse me. Once they complete that same formal observation, it will put the green check on the dashboard in the middle column on the right. So it looks like it's complete, but it's not fully complete until it's locked. And it won't lock until the signatures are in place. So a green check doesn't mean that the signatures are in place. It just means that the observation has been finished and completed. Once they see the green check with a lock, they know that all the steps have been completed. Any questions about that? And does anybody need me to go show that in the live site? Okay, I'm not seeing anything. Okay. The pre-observation conferences, we have that quick report out there that tells you who signed in lieu of a teacher when teachers refuse to sign. The pre-observation was never meant for that, but there was no way, they've told me in the past, our previous vendors, that they couldn't stop a principal from signing off on the pre-observation conference for a teacher. PowerSchool did find a way to do that. So now teachers do have to sign off on their pre-observation conferences. Principals do not have the rights to sign off on a pre-observation conference. They were doing it mistakenly. They bring somebody in their office. They were signed in on their computer. They turn it around and let the teacher sign off. Well, it was signing their name because they were on their computer. Now that can't happen. If the system sees that the principal signed in, it will not allow a signature on the teacher acknowledgement in the pre-observation conference. Okay, for some reason, our comprehensive evaluations on those additional observations, they had those circles with the I in them saying that the training needed to be completed. Well, these are additional optional observations, so they really don't need any pre-requirements. So we remove those pre-requirements. Oops. And so you'll no longer see those there. Written responses. We worked with this a lot. We corrected an issue that evaluator and peer could mark complete the teacher's written response with the teacher never clicking into the written response. They could just go out there and they could mark it complete. That has been fixed. The evaluator and peer do not have access in 21-22 to mark a teacher's written response complete. The teacher has to fill it out. It's their written response. Support staff, you know, when I say teacher, I mean everybody that's in the system that has access to do a written response. It will just be the owner of the plan that can now enter that written response, and then the peer or the evaluator will do that response acknowledgement. We also updated the evaluator's written response. They were marking them complete. They were acknowledging them, but they never said yes. They always left it on no. I was surprised at how many people would acknowledge a written response, but they never changed the setting to yes, I read this. So now they have to, if they are acknowledging it, now they have a drop down. You see that in the center of your screen. Their only choice is yes. They can always get out of it if they really didn't mean to click into that without choosing yes, and it will just stay maybe in progress or just not show they were in there at all. But now, if they are actually acknowledging a yes, to get the green check, you have to select yes and click save and exit. And then the blue circle turns to a green check. Okay. All right, to get to that document override, say your teacher does refuse to acknowledge during a conference, post-conference observation, and they've refused to sign off on it. They should sign to say that the process was followed, but you know, occasionally you'll have somebody that refuses to sign. In order to continue with the plan, the document override was developed for district administrators, evaluators, and observers to be able to do. You decide in your district who gets to do that. Maybe you want it to be the district administrator, or maybe you only want it to be the evaluators. We are not locking it down from what we currently have set. District administrators, evaluators, or observers can get in there and do the override. So we said, let's not have this open up until at least the conference has been taken place. And it also sees that the evaluator has signed off. And then the only activity left is for the teacher to acknowledge. And when they refuse to acknowledge, this document override will be open and you can utilize that document override. Okay, check my questions. Don't see any. So the pre and post observation, the formats of the list in here, the comments, the conference date, the evaluation type, the artifacts, artifact comments, they were all yanked somehow last year. So we worked and got all those areas. They should now be in order so that your observation date comes before the post observation date, things like that. So now they're all working in unison and in order, so that when you go into each of these activities, you can expect the data to be in a certain order so that you know what date you need to fill in where. Time entries in those observations. You know, when you start an observation, the evaluator's prompted to enter the time of the observation. We really wanted a widget in here, or at least a format in here for it, so that they all have to be entered uniformly, so that when you exported a report to Excel, you can figure out the minutes. Did they meet for the 45 minutes? So again, because of the way the system is configured, they were not able to put a widget in here or to force the field to only accept 2-digit hour, 2-digit minute, and the initials for AM and PM, the XM format. However, we did add a note in bold at the top of that window to please enter your times in that format, hour, minute, AM or PM. So hopefully your users will see that and they will start entering their times uniformly. This is still on the agenda to be looked at and fixed. And they will also add this to the new forms to make sure it also has the same kind of entry. Principal evaluations. Okay, the principal, same thing on their self-assessment. They no longer have to mark complete. Performance goals. For some reason, when they went in here, they were supposed to enter their district. So we didn't see why. There used to be a field. It was name, school, district, school year, and we were making the people enter the district manually. Well, when you looked at the school field, it did populate the district : location, their school location or their county level location. So we removed the field for them to have to manually enter their district, and we combined district with school because it was populating in the system. So now the only thing they need to do is to come in here. We still wanted to make sure that they had the opportunity to be able to get to links for manuals and policies. That's required at the beginning of the year. So they still click in here. They have the opportunity to click out to their manual and their policy. They click save and exit and mark complete. And now that container for the performance standard ratings is complete. All right, corrected an issue where an evaluator entered a note in data collection, artifacts, and notes, and it was not shown to the principal. Any note entered into artifacts and notes should be viewable to both the evaluator and principal. The evaluator notes area is where an evaluator can enter a note he or she doesn't want the principal to see. So now this should be working, especially after the fix this weekend. If notes are entered in artifacts and notes, both the evaluator and principal should be able to view those. This is new. We noticed that we fixed the emails that went out. We had reports that some of our emails on the activities and the teacher plans were referring to the year 2017, 2018. All of that was fixed, and we noticed that the principals never got any notices when activities were complete in their plan. So Dr. Sox and I looked at those, and we worked with PowerSchool to enable these emails to go out. And I'll let you read over that list. So now your evaluators of your principals will get a note when the principal has completed their performance goals, for example. And they'll be prompted to then go do their next step. Let me know if you notice any issues with those, but those should start going out. They should be going out now. Quick reports. This is under reporting, and it's the first container on the page, the reports container, where you select the module for quick reports. These are still in process of getting updated, but we did remove a lot of those older dated reports. We worked with a group of your NCEES peers and decided that we needed to at least show the past 3 years for right now of reports to run. And then we asked PowerSchool to inactivate the previous year's older reports. Those can be handled through ad hoc reports, or if we ever actually need to reactivate an older report, we can. We just have to open a ticket with PowerSchool. This is a list of all the reports. The ones I've highlighted in orange, if it says DPI anywhere in it, these are the state reports. You should not have access to run these. We had one access issue reported, and that has been fixed. But the rest of those reports are reports that you can run. Some of them say current year and some say select year. PowerSchool updated their reports a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, for you to be able to select the year, meaning we no longer need the list that starts with the dates. So those dates will now be listed in the select year reports, and you can go run past year reports by selecting the year. However, this broke those of you that use the manage reports and scheduling reports to run throughout the year, like maybe you wanted to schedule reports to run every month or every quarter, by using the select year report, that wouldn't work. Those reports would not show up in that list. So we've asked PowerSchool to go back, and they've put in back in the one that says current year. Those ones are needed for the manage reports and the scheduling of reports. So it looks doubled up, but there's a reason for that. And so you can either pick a report that you want to run a past year on, or if you're running reports for the current year and you need to schedule them, the current year report will now show up in that list. They are still working on this because we are needing those reports for those summary ones as well, to say current year and select year. They were having a couple issues trying to get some of those to run, but they are currently working on that. We have a ticket open right now. And then this list will be cleaned up even more. As soon as all that's in place and everything's been tested, we'll let you know when that quick reports is fully cleaned up. Any questions about the quick reports? All right, PD credit types. Technology credit type has been hidden. Those of you that build out PD for your districts in your PD office in NCEES, technology went away several years ago. It was allowed to stay in for a few years so districts could phase it out and continue to use it until it was phased out. This year it is hidden. We hid it. We didn't get rid of it, because if we got rid of it, it would remove those technology credits from people's transcripts. So we just hid it from the course creation. And so now you'll have academic subject area, literacy, general, leadership in the DLCs, and no longer have technology there. Requests for past records. So this is kind of sort of changed. It has changed. I will no longer be printing out the PDFs that you guys need. When people request from your district, they didn't print one out and take it with them. You can't find them with the report that's listed in number 1. You can't find them as inactive because they've moved on. So if that's not working for you, you or the person requesting can email under the optionally educator effectiveness at dpi.nc.gov. This really needs to come from your HR department. They do accept emails from the individual. However, the person that is getting this emails, they can't send, just like I couldn't send the PDF to the person. It has to go to somebody in your district for that person to then get to the requester. So I hope that makes sense. So from now on, if you need a report that you can't print for them, they can go get, and it's not the pretty report, it's going to be the ratings that they need to get their next job. So educator effectiveness will supply those, but it should come from your district HR office in an email to educator effectiveness at dpi.nc.gov. Okay, any questions about that? Just please train your staff when they leave your system that they should print out everything that they're going to need. Their transcripts, their PDFs of their plans, anything that has been archived or deactivated. District administrator reopen rights. We can tell you guys a little bit. We are in the process of changing who gets reopen rights when assigned as a system district administrator. Currently, everybody in an administrative role, if you gave them district administrator rights, they also get reopen. We've talked with your NCEES peers, and we've talked internally, and we are going to let PowerSchool know this week to limit this to just the administrative specialists and the other people. If you assign a principal as a district administrator, you still have the option to go into administration staff management and give them reopen rights. However, we don't want the system to give them reopen rights because we're working towards creating that admin view-only role. And we want to be able to give your superintendents and your directors a district administrator role that is only view-only. And if it came with reopen rights, that would not work. So this is our first step to creating that view-only role. If you have any concerns about that, email Dr. Sox and I. And if you need any help with assigning reopen rights, open a ticket, the support desk can help, or email me and we'll work that out. So the admin view-only role is coming. That was one of our topics in our Padlet. We have a couple other steps that PowerSchool has to do. And they're going to have that out in October. And we're going to test it before we enable it. This is just a list of everybody that you need to contact here at DPI or your home-based advisory board reps. Thank you, reps, for being on that home-based advisory board. Anytime you have issues or kudos or want to know what's going on, your reps are listed on the right there. Angela Cogdill, Sherry Thomas, Erica Newkirk, Brian Probst, and Dean Richardson. And then in the center section, you have those of us at DPI, Dr. Dietrich, myself, Dr. Sox, and Dr. Simmons. Dr. Sox and Dr. Simmons handle the policy side of NCEES, and I handle the system side. And then please, 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 on the left, click on that link. Go check your district and make sure the people who are your contacts are listed correctly. This definitely needs to be updated every year. This is where other districts go to find out who they need to contact in your district when they have questions about staff UID, who's active where. Please go update that list. You can email Yolanda Wilson at DPI or open a ServiceNow support ticket to update those contacts. Which link did you want to put in the chat? I see a question out there from Ms. Cowell. Is that the link for the contacts? Yes, thank you. There you go. That went to one person. Let me try that again. All right, that went to everybody. All right. There's our home-based meetup schedule. We went over that earlier. Yeah, escape out here. That was what's new. Do we have any questions? It's 11 o'clock. We're going to jump into networking time if we don't have any questions right now, because we also need to get in an hour of training. Oh, here's our other slide under what's new. We're working also on getting PD-only users in NCEES. Stay tuned for this. We will be adding a support demographic. Will you explain the view only for district administrators again? Sally, I'll have more details later, but right now, the original district administrator role was supposed to be a view only role, but it came with reopen and it came with access rights, be able to assign access rights, and it came with reopen rights. So because we want our superintendents to be able to see all the plans in their district, but they only need like a view only role, you were supposed to have been able to give them district administrator rights and they get that view only role. And it didn't work out like that. So now we're in the process of finding a way to do that. There'll be more details later. The first step was for DPI to limit that reopen rights when that's assigned. The next steps for PowerSchool are to limit the access rights and right, just went access rights and assume identity. So they'll be adding a feature in the profiles where we can disconnect who actually has assume identity and access rights. That we'll have more details on later. They're going through testing. We're going to have to go through testing. And from then on, everybody that has DA If you don't want them to have the extra rights, you're going to have to notify DPI. If it's just a small group, we'll be able to update that. If it's a big group, we're going to have to send a spreadsheet to PowerSchool, and then they can remove those extra rights from the DA role so that your superintendents or your directors will only have view only. I hope that helps a little bit.
Amy, is there a report we can run that shows who all has district admin
You
rights?
should be able to go to ad hoc reports and run a people report.
Got you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. Brian, I have a request in the chat if you would share your training PowerPoint again this year. I think that's going to Brian Probst. All right, we've already talked about the solution to the administration staff management names, solution to plans remaining active when staff move to new districts, updating our quick reports. I'll also be working on cleaning up those old ad hoc reports because now we're getting into years and years of reports there too. And then copying over our new ad hoc reports, especially those new percentage reports that we came up with for you guys. I get those copied over as well. And of course, I'm updating help guides for you. The help guides should be done by the end of this week. If I get those done this week, we'll get those ad hoc reports worked on next week. I had one question from our registration. I asked, did you have any topics you wanted to talk about? And we had the Cedars UID question, using UID to remove multiple assignments within a district. And I don't know if this person is on today. If you want to talk about this, whoever put this in, I believe that was Rhonda. If you want to unmute and say anything about this, but this, as we go into training, might answer some of this. As NCEES users, some of you may have access to Cedars UID. Many of you do not, so you don't really know what it looks like, but you, because of NCEES, have to communicate with your HR payroll districts to make sure they have this site, this staff UID site, updated so that when the T&L person import file comes by here every night and looks in UID, it finds who's active, who's inactive, who has a NCEES budget code, and who doesn't, and are they active in more than one location. So sometimes that's okay, and sometimes it's not. The screenshot on here shows somebody that's active in NC Virtual Public Schools and Wayne County Middle College, and they were showing incorrectly in NCEES. They were showing their NC Virtual Public School as primary, and it was due to the last update date that was showing in UID. Also, we've worked with NCVPS, and they no longer are actually putting in a salary code if this is not a teacher that is only at NCVPS. So they should no longer be putting in the salary codes for teachers that's their second job. Okay. All right, Rhonda, did you have any comments before we move on with the training portion? I know a lot of you are working to try to determine this. Maybe you have HRMS, maybe you have a third-party system to help you determine who's active when and what reports you can run.
Thank you, Cammie. You did a great job. I don't have any comments.
Okay. All right. I did want to let you know I've gotten several requests toward the end of the year to be able to know which staff had never started their plan, which staff had multiple plans on the My Evaluation page, because you guys can't see that unless you assume their identity. And the quick reports only pulls active status reports. It does not tell you who has an assigned plan that they've never started. So while we were trying to figure out some other things, I noticed that when you go to staff evaluations and run your evaluation completion report, that's found under the graph icon in the screenshot over here. You click that little squiggly line to get to the evaluation completion report, and that has a column that says overall status. So that column will tell you if they've started their plan at all. And if you run a report for each of your plan types, so you run your standard report, your comprehensive report, your abbreviated report, and you know you've made changes because somebody incorrectly gave somebody the wrong plan type, you can go run this report and see if those users have multiple plans in their My Evaluation page. So that it's just going to have to be run a report, compare the reports, see whose name is showing up on more than one of those reports, and know which plan they have in progress. Especially toward the end of the year, I had several tickets where people said, we gave somebody an abbreviated plan, but it looks like they're working in a standard plan. And they were. They didn't. We looked at the staff. They had not started the new plan. All year long, they've been working in the wrong plan. So this is good to plan to run every so often to make sure, especially once you've made plan changes on the My Staff page. Come out here and run this report and see who has not started a plan. Then you can get with that staff and tell them to start the correct plan. And of course, they'll have to copy over anything that has been entered in the old plan. Any questions about how to do that? Okay, time for the refresher, staff in NCEES. I really am not going over beginning of year, other than this is beginning of year, making sure your staff are in NCEES correctly and the source systems that come into NCEES. So this is going to be our training today. We do have the beginning of year webinars from last year listed on our NCEES Google site. And at the end of our slides, if we don't have time to get to them today, I have the links to that NCEES Google site and to our YouTube channel where those recorded webinars are. Kim Simmons and I will be meeting this week to finalize our next year webinars, and we hope to have that communicated out by Friday or early next week. Okay, we're going to do our NCEES refresher. Sorry, my internet seemed to slow down here. Okay, it's loading up. Okay, so let's start our new year with a NCEES refresher. This is for HR directors, charter directors, NCEES admins, anybody that needs to know how staff get into NCEES. I'm wondering if I have. This is a welcome letter that I send out and will be going out later this week to all our new charters. But if you just want a good overview of what NCEES is and what the beginning of year checklist is for those source systems, this is a good letter to review. It is linked on the slide. NCEES is made up of two components. There's the Educator evaluation instruments. That's your evaluation and professional development plans. And then component 2 is the professional development side of the tool, where NCDPI divisions build out courses and learning opportunities for staff across the state to take that are free. They show up in the NCEES course catalog, or they are shared with a registration link. If your district opts into home base, then I can create you a local PD office where you can put your learning opportunities in NCEES as well. And those credits feed to the transcript that's in NCEES for each staff. So how are your staff provision access into NCEES? You've got your beginning teachers, you've got your seasoned teachers, you've got residency, or what used to be known as lateral entry teachers, all different types of teachers. How does all their statuses and source systems, what source systems do you need to look at to make sure your staff have active accounts in NCEES? So first we're going to look at our NCEES source systems, and it is linked in this bottom left corner, your NCEES data V7 document. It has these pages and these graphics in that document as well. If you look on the left, we are going to look at how our nightly TNL person import file is created from data in source systems. So NCEES doesn't have data that it creates and sends out other than storing the evaluation plans. The actual demographics of your staff come from other source systems in your district. So at 4 p.m., one of those source systems is Staff UID. That system actually gets data fed from payroll. So if you look on the right, the very first system we have listed in the green is payroll. And in payroll, it looks at Staff UID, your 10-digit UID code. Is your staff active or inactive? What is their name? What is their object code, which then becomes a role in NCEES? And where are they located? Are they at a county level? Are they at a finance location? Are they at a school location? All that comes from payroll. It is exported for most districts. If your district doesn't do that, then get with us if you need to know how to do that. You may have a banner system or something else, and you have to manually update UID. Majority does an export from payroll, and they upload it to Staff UID. And you decide how often to do that, especially as your staff change or you get new staff in. You can just upload the new staff, the new data that needs to be uploaded. I am not the authority on that source file, but I can help get you in touch with who you need to if you have questions. All right, so payroll uploads to Staff UID. And then once that same data is in Staff UID, we start pulling that data every day at 4 p.m. So any updates need to be in before 4 p.m. if you want it to show up in NCEES by the next day. And then overnight, we also pull in data from over here on the right-hand side, licensure. We get the license expiration date. And from any non-HRMS or HRMS data, that's your HR data. We pull in email addresses, primary locations, classification codes. Is this teacher comprehensive, probationary, that kind of thing? Or are they a career teacher? And then we also pull in from PowerSchool the email address. PowerSchool is our authoritative source for email addresses. If the person is not in the SIS system, the PowerSchool SIS, then we look to the HR data to get those email addresses. So if emails are not showing up correctly in NCEES, go check those source systems. Okay, all of that is pulled between 9:45 and 11 p.m. Around 11 p.m., the person import file is created. It gets sent to the vendor by about midnight. And then between then and 4 a.m., the vendor processes that file and imports staff into NCEES with updated data. Here's just a closer look at what we were just talking about. All the different source systems that feed into creating that nightly person import file. I do get tickets requesting me to change names or to change locations. It all goes back to your source files. Once it's uploaded, the budget codes that come in define the NCEES roles. Budget codes come from your district's chart of accounts or DPI's chart of accounts that your district uses. If you're chartered, some of your chart of accounts numbers are different, but everything that comes into NCEES is the same. So everybody that has a 111 is a superintendent. Everybody with a 114 is your lead principal. Everybody with a 121 comes in as a classroom teacher. And then some people need both an object code, which we just read out, those 3-digit numbers. Some people need it combined with a purpose code to define the role in NCEES. So your teacher, leader, instructional coordinators, they need a 131-5110. Or your school counselors need a 131-5830. to define that role in NCEES. We bring in one classified code and only one, and I'm going to point that out. It's about 6 or 7 rows down. It's 153, and that is your administrative specialist. Those are the ones that we earmark to get reopen rights, because usually that role is given district administrator to manage the system for the district. 151, a lot of you still have that, and I get tickets all the time. Well, so-and-so can get into NCEES, and they have a 151. That's because when this system was first implemented, 2013, 2014, people were hand entered into the system. 151 was one of the budget codes that was hand entered. I have discussed with accountability and school business, can we use 151? And right now, their answer is we need to use 153 to get into NCEES. So essentially, everybody that still is in NCEES with a 151 code, the person import file is not picking you up because you have a 151 code. To fix that, change it to 153. I have let you be grandfathered in so that you can go ahead and continue to do the work you need to do in NCEES. But ideally, you would fix that code. Your district would fix that code to be 153. So you also will be included in that person import file. Here's a closer look at staff UID and how those source systems feed up to staff UID. So find out who handles this staff data for your district, who creates those UIDs, those 10-digit UIDs, and then who defines who's active or inactive, and their names. How do they show up in the system? Names for licensed staff should come from their license certificate. They should not have a different name other than what is on that certificate. And then budget codes, who decides who gets what budget code? DPI does not tell any district what budget code to use. We do have for NCEES only certain budget codes that bring you in, but we don't tell your people which budget code to use. So you're going to need to be in communication with whoever handles that. And then who defines what location the person shows up at in staff UID and payroll. So if we look at the staff active or inactive status in this teal blue line, I've highlighted that in yellow. There are some yeses out here, and there are some no's that I've not highlighted. So let's look at the ones with the yeses and see if those records go to NCEES. So the very first one that is at CMS, I see an active yes, but then when I look at the annual salary field line, that is the budget code line, I see a 142. 142 is not on that NCEES Data V7 list. We don't bring in 142 into NCEES. So even though there's a yes, that record will never show up in NCEES. If we look at the next line down, there's an active no, and in the salary field is a 121. NCEES does look at that record. It says, oh, there's a teacher, but they're not active at CMS Harding University High. So it knows not to make them active. It also knows that if they were active, to make them inactive now, because it's a teacher code with an active no. And the next one down, it has an active yes with a 121 at West Mecklenburg High. So now it sees, well, they're inactive at Harding High, but now they're active at West Mecklenburg High. So now I need to show them in NCEES as active at West Mecklenburg High. Also, this person was also active at a charter school, and this is where the overlap comes in. So if there are 2 records with yeses and like the teacher budget code 121, both of those final 2 records are going to feed into NCEES, and it's going to cause an issue because both of these school names are going to now go on this teacher's evaluation plan. So somebody needs to contact the other district and decide which of these is true, and can you make your person inactive. So it looks like the charter school would be the more true one because it has the most recent last update date down there in 2020. And the CMS record was 2015. Any questions about how to read that? If you ever have questions, please open a ticket. I'm happy to go out and check some of these. Be in good communication with your HR department. Maybe they'll let you sit with them to see this. If you don't have access to this, you can request access to staff UID, but it doesn't mean your district's going to give it to you. So you can always go out there and request it. And hopefully some of you can get that. It does definitely help with trying to determine which staff are active in NCEES. Here's just a couple more screenshots of what to look for. Here's a 113 that is active yes on the left. That's your salary object and purpose codes. So remember that salary is not a dollar amount. That's your object and purpose codes, your 7 digits altogether. And then we also looked previously at that which location is primary. Your HR data brings in your primary location. However, as another step, the UID system will also define which is primary if there's more than one location. This statement goes out from Jordan Kincaid at Staff UID. This is to let your districts know that there should be timely and accurate exchange of data between the district payroll, your PSU, Public School Unit Payroll System, and the Staff UID system. This includes any new staff members who need access to the K-12 systems, such as PowerSchool SIS, SchoolNet, NCEES, etc. All those downstream systems. If you also contract staff, they're not on your regular payroll, there is a link there on how to get a UID for those staff. What is this telling you? It's telling you your district can make staff active before the first day of school, that first paragraph. However, that is a district decision. Some districts want their beginning teachers to get into NCEES so that they can take that PD out there before the first day of school. That is a district decision. So talk with your district. Some districts want to wait until that first day of school before they make them active. And I've also spoken to a few districts who thought there was a 30-day rule in place where you don't make anybody active until they get their first paycheck, which is 30 days into the school year. That has not been a rule for a number of years. Maybe years ago it was, but that is no longer a rule. So go out there and talk with your districts about when they can make people active. And again, your district is authoritative on this decision. Do we have any questions? Okay. So some of the source systems for your HR data that comes in, some of you guys are using Link HR, the HRMS system at the state, and then other people have a third-party HR system. Remember, your source for emails is PowerSchool SIS first, and then other HR systems will bring in those emails. Primary location is defined in your HR data. Charters, you are a primary location. You do not really define that. Everybody else does define a primary location for their staff. Classification codes tells our system, is this a beginning teacher or is this a career teacher? Does the system think this teacher needs to have a comprehensive plan or a standard plan? So that's what those classifications codes are. Those will be updated in the next couple of years because all of those have changed. However, we still go by how the system was originally set up. Here's a link to the HR data document. If you want to know what link is sending us, what HRMS is sending, they know how to bring in this data. If your data, demographic data is not correct on your staff, check with your HR folks that they have this updated, that link is sending it, that it's updated in the HRMS files. Charters or other schools that don't automatically have link, you may need to manually upload this data. DPI gets a list of your username and passwords to get to the site to upload this data. If you want your demographic data closer to correct in NCEES, this needs to be done. And it needs to be done as often as you get new staff, just like the staff UID. Here's just a closer look at some of those codes that are in the HR data. So if we see a code of ETC, we know this is a career teacher. If we see a code of ETP, it's a probationary teacher. Abbreviated, we don't define in NCEES because it's manually assigned. We can't bring that in through the system. CLC means career status teacher. That would be somebody on a standard plan or that you may put on an abbreviated plan. CLB is a probationary beginning teacher, and the system would assume that this person should be on a comprehensive plan. Same thing with all those codes following. Any questions about the codes that are coming in? If you ever need to like a little walkthrough, just schedule some time with me and we'll get together and we'll walk through any of this. The little picture on the right shows the profile in NCEES of a staff. The demographics is listed in alphabetical order, so it's hard to read. So I'm trying to highlight here what kind of goes together, what the system thinks this person is. This is where teachers come in here and they say, well, I'm not comprehensive. I'm a career teacher. So if they're not supposed to be comprehensive, we need to look at your source system from the HR data. All right, take a quick break. I'm throwing a lot at you, so see if you have any questions. Okay. All right, so now you've got your data going from payroll to UID. You've got your HR data coming through HRMS, Link HR, or you've manually uploaded it. How do you get into NCEES? So staff, we have a single sign-on system for everybody getting into NCEES. There is no other way to get to NCEES until you log in to NCEES Cloud or IAM. If you are a brand new person and have never gotten into NCEES Cloud before, you need to claim your account. And there are help guides out there at NCEES Cloud. I've linked that on the left. And on the right, I show you what it looks like when you are getting ready to log in. Your top drop down says NCEES Cloud. Unless you are a DPI staff, you need to change that to NCDPI. And then anybody in a district puts their UID in as the username. If you are DPI staff, you're going to use your NCID. You're going to click go, and then excuse me, school staff, you're going to put your password that you set up in. DPI staff, you're going to use your NCID password. At the bottom is the dashboard that loads up, and you see 5 clicks over is the Unified Talent, the blue PowerSchool cyan blue letter P with NCEES underneath. That is how you're going to get into NCEES from the dashboard in our single sign-on system. If you have any questions, I've put the link, a contact name there, Mark Scheibel. He is the person to go to if you have IAM NCEES Cloud questions. This is a staff UID and IAM data flow chart provided to us from Jordan Kincaid. If you want to know how that data flows and who you might need to go to. The employee data on the left comes from your finance or HR into the payroll system. Second there. It then goes up to the UID batch files. It's uploaded to UID. It gets into staff UID. If you are entering contracted staff, you see below staff ID, that non-payroll staff data feeds in separately. And then here, I don't know what goes back to payroll. That's outside of my purview. So that comes from HR to payroll to UID upload into staff UID. And then part 2, now it's in staff UID. The other source systems also feed into UID and the IAM. That's from the PowerSchool instances, from Link and from HRMS. Goes into our operational data store system. And then all the files are created and consumed into NCEES Cloud. Okay. So now we've got your people, all their data is correct. They are now in the single sign-on system. They can get to their icons to get to their home base systems, SchoolNet, NCEES, this, all of those. So let's get you into NCEES and who needs access to what. Everybody that comes into NCEES comes in with user level access rights. Users can only see their own data until an admin assigns other access rights. There's one exception to this rule. The principal role, those with budget code 114, they come into NCEES and they are actually system assigned site administrator access rights. This means your principal, your lead principal, has access as an evaluator to all staff and all staff plans in their location. They can assign access rights to staff and they can print reports. This guide is still good. I will be updating this guide after I update all the help plan guides, the plan help guides. This does need a little bit of an overhaul, especially if we're changing some of the access rights to get that view only rights. So expect in the next month or so to get the district administrator guide updated, but it's still good to use. So we do recommend that every district have at least one person to assign district administrator access rights, and it would be good to have a backup person as well. The district administrator can see everyone in their district location. District administrators can assign access rights. They can do the reopen currently, locked and completed activity plans in the plans for correcting. So currently, everybody, if you've completed an activity in the plan, something needs to be corrected, you have to come to the system DA to reopen that, unless you've assigned somebody else reopen rights. DAs also have that awesome assume identity right for troubleshooting. DAs can create reports. DAs can look at all plans, but they cannot edit plans unless assigned other access rights. They can do the document override process. Can my assistant principal be a site admin? And what does that mean? So yes, if a NCEES district administrator sets the admin type from user to site administrator, and I've listed the steps there, you'll go into the user accounts or into the profile. You're going to open up their profile, their user details, and click edit. You're going to change them from a user to a site administrator. And then very importantly, you must set an admin rights location. And once that location is set, you can add it and you can click done. It does take overnight to fully update. You may see some changes right away, but it takes overnight to fully update. And why would you want to give an assistant principal admin rights? And if anybody has any comments, please do pop up. Especially for larger districts, they can assist with running reports, and they can also assist with assigning mentors and peers and other access rights. So assigning staff access rights, this is done in administration staff management, and you click on the admin rights. There are two different ways to assign admin rights, access rights. One is to assign access rights to the teachers and staff plans, support staff plans. That is the guide on the left, and it is updated. The one on the right is to assign access rights to principal plans. DAs and site administrators can use the guide on the left to assign access rights to teachers and support staff plans. DAs only can use their guide on the right to assign access rights to the head principal plan. They need evaluators too. That is done in staff evaluation, and that guide will walk you through that. Remember that site administrators, your head principal, they already have the evaluator access right to all the assistant principals. But your head principal is going to need an evaluator too. So that's the guide on the right. The little graphics on the left show you the different little steps in there. So you can assign to choose, you have to choose your plan. You have to choose the right that you want them to have. So on the abbreviated comprehensive, you're going to be able to assign evaluators, observers, peer observers, reopen admin, or view only. In the professional development plans, you're going to be able to assign evaluators, mentors, reopen, or view only. Principal plans, you're not going to be able to assign unless you're assigning archive plans, and then you get, it says evaluator, but archive plans you can't work in. So it's essentially a view only. Okay. Administration staff management, set access rights. So this is just a screenshot of where it looks, where you go. You're going to click on my staff, and you're going to click on the administration staff management tab. And down below, it shows you who is already in the list. There's a button to add administrators, and there is a help guide on how to do that. And then you can see that can manage rights. There's not a lot you really can do with that box. I've unchecked it before, and it comes right back. To me, it essentially defines who has site administrator rights, so you can quickly see who has those rights. That's what that box is showing you. If I clicked into the menu and opened up the admin rights, this is what you're going to see. It gives you the person's name that you are about to assign rights to at the top of the page. And then in the middle section, it shows you what rights they already have. It tells you which staff they have access to. Is it just from one person, or is it the whole school, the all staff? And then how did they get the rights, the source of rights? New last year was this location field. This helps you define if you are seeing people that you shouldn't see, if you see a location that doesn't belong to your district. The source of rights can either be this page, this window right here. It'll say this page. Manually added via step, like you went to staff evaluations and you gave a DA, superintendent, evaluator access. That's a manually added step. If it says school admin, it means the system saw a budget code that says this person should be an evaluator to all staff at this location. And then we won't go through all the steps here, but of course, you need to choose your site. Charters, you'll only have one site. You need to choose your plan in number 2. You need to choose your members in number 3, or leave it blank if you want it to go to all staff. And then number 4, choose what rights you are assigning. And then you're going to click add, and it will add those rights. If you've left number 3 blank, it will give you a little warning that you're assigning rights to all staff. You just give that an okay, and that means from then on, anybody that shows up under this plan, whether they're a new hire or a past hire, they will show up for this person at the top of this page on that plan type. Please do the beginning of year orientation. I don't know what happened to my graphic there. So on our NCEES site, there is a recorded webinar. We recommend teachers, there it goes, teachers and principals and everybody to watch that orientation webinar. It's good to watch during your beginning of year sessions, or just to sign out to watch, and then make sure you have that meeting to discuss. Prior to orientation, your principal should be sending a reminder email regarding the orientation meeting, and they should provide a link to the NCEES Google site. Little side note, we will probably be moving that Google site to a different site, our DPI site maybe, later in the year. Just watch for news for that. Right now, your NCEES Google site is an awesome resource to go find these orientation resources, and where all our webinars and everything else is housed currently. There's a link in the last bullet to the NCEES Google site, and I highly, highly recommend that everybody watch Understanding the Teacher rubric. It is a 2-hour session presented by Dr. Sachs. How to do those rubrics, and how during observations that you are helping your teachers grow throughout the whole year, and that you really don't discuss ratings until you get to the end of the year and you do that summary evaluation. Okay. All right, any questions? I don't see anything coming in on the chat. All right, I presented this earlier. These were just a couple questions that came in. What are different ways to support growth for teachers in those notes and comment sections with artifacts. And Dr. Sachs had answered a request for a change of the teacher to provide the artifact and to document the change at the next observation. And then my other question that I had received from a couple of different people was, can a principal be both the district admin and the site administrator? This we get a lot from the charter schools. So yes, if a district administrator is assigned to a lead principal code, it overrides the evaluator access rights. So they would have gotten the reopen rights. Once PowerSchool puts our change in place, they'll no longer get those. So I will revise this answer. But you will get access to the ad hoc reports and other reports and other rights of the district administrator on the user accounts page. So those evaluator access rights will have to be manually reassigned. So if you're a charter, you're a principal, you need to be the district administrator, then we need to show you how to manually assign yourself your rights back to be an evaluator. So if you have any questions about that, just let me know. All right, let me escape out of that. So that was a little bit of a refresher on how to make sure your staff are in NCEES correctly and that you have checked all your source systems and they are good to go. So I'm going to pause here, take a little breath. Does anybody have any questions, or you have anything you also want to bring up today for us to talk about before we leave today? I'm going to put this feedback link in the chat. I appreciate everybody coming out today. We appreciate your feedback always. It helps us improve what we do. You are always honest and give us good comments. I hope today's session answered a lot about how we ended last year, how we're beginning this new year, what's new. And then I hope this little session on the source systems for NCEES was helpful to you. This is recorded, so we will be sharing that out. And we hope if you want to share it with other folks, please do. If you want to mute it this time as well, that's fine. I'll be stopping the recording in maybe 2 more minutes. You're welcome. I see some thank yous out there. I'll click through these remaining slides. Please do join us for SchoolNet tomorrow, PowerSchoolandLearning.com on Wednesday, Canvas on Thursday, and Go Open NC on Friday. This slide has the link to our NCEES playlist. So the webinars I do, I put out here. All our webinars are listed on the Google site as well. Please do join our Facebook group, like us on Facebook. Every Wednesday, I post some new Did You Knows. Had a lot of folks really like the admins can pin a list of their staff on the staff evaluations page. That had almost 500 folks in it. So relisting of our contacts for you guys. And then how to contact me or how to set up an office appointment with me. Okay, I don't see any questions coming in. You're welcome. I see some more thank yous. I hope you guys have a great day. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording, but I'll stay online for a couple more minutes if you want to ask a question without the recording again. So you guys have a great day.